Hello and welcome to Carsales Best Hot Hatch Test. Behind me are 6 hot hatches and to be honest, they're all really good, but only one will be deemed victorious. You'll have noticed that our 6 cars are split into 2 size groups, but they're all of them mixed together because instead of assessing them against one another, they're being assessed across 5 criteria: safety, technology, comfort and convenience, ownership costs, and, most importantly, drive impressions. Each car gets a score out of 20 for each category and most points wins. If you're wondering where the likes of the VW Golf R, Audi RS3 or Mercedes A45 are, we'll cover the all-wheel drive stuff in a later test. All our contenders are front-wheel drive and turbocharged, but sadly a couple couldn't make it. No Renault Megane RS or BMW 128 was available for testing, and the Cupra Leon wasn't quite launched in time. Nevertheless, we got plenty to get into, so let's take a closer look at the lineup. By coincidence, we ended up with 3 pairs of cars. The VW Polo and Golf Gti with their 2-litre engines and dual-clutch gearboxes, the similarly equipped Hyundai I30n, 1.6-litre manual-only i20n, and our outliers from Ford, the 2.3-litre automatic Focus ST and 1.5-litre 3-cylinder manual Fiesta St. Despite their varied mechanical makeups, all are very similar in terms of outputs and performance in their respective segments. Cost of ownership is very similar across 4 of our contenders, including pricing, warranty and servicing. But the VWs stand out with higher price tags and much more expensive servicing, almost double that of the Fords and Hyundais. In terms of technology, comfort and convenience, we need to hop inside. As the criteria suggests, we're looking at space, ergonomics and equipment levels to determine which would be the easiest to live with day to day. It's here that the Golf GTI begins to claw back a bit of ground. Sort of. There's lots of space, plenty of technology, and it's the only car here with triple zone climate control, with the leather trim, heated and ventilated electrically adjustable seats, sunroof, head-up display, heated steering wheel and Harman Kardon stereo are all optional extras, which pushes the price close to $60,000 before on-road costs. This infotainment system, also not the most intuitive thing to get your head around. The Polo's interior and entertainment is older and less flashy, but also easier to use, and has the same steering wheel and digital instruments as its bigger brother. Despite its smaller size, there is still decent space front and rear, though footroom is a little tight in the back. The Hyundai i30n is clearly the flagship version of a cheaper base car. It doesn't feel as premium in here as in the Golf, especially in the back, but it basically matches the VW's features as standard. The widescreen infotainment is easier to use, and while there's no digital instruments, there's nothing wrong with a pair of good old-fashioned dials. The i20n does have digital instruments, and while it doesn't have all the toys, reflected in its lower price tag, all the basics are present, including keyless entry and start, wireless charging, smartphone mirroring and climate control. There's a surprising amount of room in the rear for such a small car too. A quick admission, by the time you see this video, this Focus ST will be yesterday's news, as a facelifted model is imminent. However, we still felt comfortable using it, as mechanically the 2 cars will be identical. Still, this thing is already the best equipped car here. The only car with a standard powered driver's seat, the only one with a powered passenger seat, and the only one with a standard head-up display. The big difference will be the new car replaces this 8-inch touchscreen with a massive 13.2-inch widescreen unit, and will also score wireless smartphone mirroring. Like its bigger brother, the Fiesta St is also very well equipped for the money, with heated seats and steering wheel and wireless charging as standard, though neither Ford has AM radio, which may matter if you live in rural areas. The specifications of all these cars are really close. All are well equipped, though it's the Focus ST that scores the narrowest of wins by boasting the most standard kit. It's a similar story in terms of safety, with all cars having plenty of active assistance features, though it's the Golf GTI that ticks the most boxes, and it also has the most airbags. Before we hit the road, a quick points tally. As you can see, it's extraordinarily close. The Focus ST holding a slender lead, but the other 5 cars separated by just 2 points. It's behind the wheel where the final order will be established though. These being hot hatches, they need to be everyday usable, but primarily they will be scored on how much fun they are to drive. So, without further ado, Before I get into the final order, I said at the start of this video that all these cars are great, and I mean it. So while the Polo Gti finishes 6th and last, I'd still happily recommend it to someone. It's quick, it's comfortable, and it's a lot of fun to drive. In fact, if your driving primarily involves day-to-day commuting, I might even recommend it over the car in 5th, but as it stands, it's not quite as capable as the other cars here. The engine's strong, but the gearbox auto upshifts quite early and can struggle with downshifts. And in the corners, it's definitely the best Polo GTI there's ever been, but the dynamic ceiling isn't quite as high as our other hot hatches. It's good up to a point and quite a high point, but beyond that, it starts to struggle and feel a bit scrappy. The Hyundai I30n is basically the polar opposite to the Polo. This thing is absolutely awesome to drive hard, and it gets better the harder you push it. Hyundai calls it the corner rascal, which is a bit of a cringy marketing term, but also quite an accurate description of the car. It's got so much grip, yet is still adjustable, has monster brakes and brilliant traction, but that's partly because it's also got the least impressive engine here. It's got decent power, but very flat, fades at the top end, and it sounds pretty ordinary too. Great manual gearbox though. The other issue is that while it's amazing when you're driving at 10/10ths, when you're not, it's very, very firm. I'm not going to say it's too firm, especially given the level of handling talent on offer, but I do keep letting out involuntary oofs when I go over larger bumps, which some may find tiring. For others, they'll think it a small price to pay. In 4th place, the first of our larger contenders, the Volkswagen Golf Gti. Again, a really good car and quite a big step up dynamically over any previous GTI. This is now a really sharp hot hatchback. Very fast, very capable, and yet still the ideal daily driver. But like the Polo, its competitors have another level of performance that it can't quite match. And while I said that the driving experience would largely dictate the final order, what really costs the Golf is, well, the cost. This thing is easily the most expensive car here, needs further options to match the spec of the others, and even if you get the cheaper prepaid servicing, still costs over $1,000 more to service in the first 5 years compared to the Focus or the i30. Now we're entering hallowed ground. In terms of pure driving, our final 3 are about as good as it gets. In 3rd place, we've got the Ford Fiesta St, which actually has the same overall score as the Golf, but nabs the final podium position on account of having the higher driving impressions score. I absolutely love this car. If you care more about fun than outright speed, then the Fiesta is the hot hatch for you. How is it better than, say, its main rival, the Hyundai i30n? Well, if you drive absolutely flat out, then it isn't. Hyundai's got more grip, more traction, and better brakes. The Fiesta's 3-cylinder engine is sensational. The gearbox is super slick, but it's the handling that really stands out. This car is so playful, constantly reacting to your inputs. You can't help but enjoy every journey. The brakes are the Fiesta's one weak spot. They're fine for everyday use, adequate just for road, but badly underdone for track work. That aside, everything else is fantastic. If driving is your #1 priority, your sole reason for purchasing, then the Hyundai i30n is the best car here. It is unbelievable how quick, how capable and how engaging this thing is on road and track. The upgraded engine that arrived as part of the facelift is a big improvement, with massive torque and proper top-end power now. The dual-clutch gearbox is phenomenal, but the manual is also very good, and the clever diff feels to suck the front end to the ground, with the overall result being one of the best hot hatches there's ever been. Not only that, it loves being driven hard. It feels to have endless reserves, and that means you can continue to learn and enjoy the i30 as you get more familiar with it. Like I said, I would happily recommend the i30n to absolutely anyone, but it's not our #1. So if the i30n is the best car to drive, how come the Ford Focus ST is our overall winner? Well, because it's similarly awesome, the merest fraction behind the Hyundai. In fact, the key to the Ford's success is that it blends the best attributes of all our contenders into one hell of a package. It's got the speed of the i30n, the playfulness of the Fiesta, the daily usability of the Golf, primarily because its auto is smoother than any of the dual clutch boxes. It's got the cheaper servicing, the most equipment, the list goes on. I don't think this is a jack of all trades type win, because the Focus is brilliant to drive. Beginners will appreciate its grip, traction and accuracy, while more advanced drivers will love the fact you can adjust the handling balance at will. About the only complaint is that there's occasionally some torque steer under acceleration that requires two firm hands on the steering wheel. A look at the scoring shows just how close all these cars are. Even the Polo scores an impressive 82 out of 100, and take out the Focus and the rest of the field is covered by just 3.5 points. On that note, while the Focus is a deserved winner, all these cars are quite different in personality, so shop accordingly. If you're not a hardcore enthusiast, try the VWs. If you are, you'll probably like the Hyundais. And if you want the best of both worlds, check out the Fords, particularly this one. But will the order stay the same now we're here at the track? To find out, check out our in-depth performance video with full acceleration figures and lap times.